and welcome to this month's podcast. It's November, it's cold, it's rainy, but this room is so warm and warmed by Wangechi and Linda from Safaricom. Wangechi is the head of Legal and Secretarial Services at Safaricom, and Linda is a senior legal counsel as well as acting company secretary at Safaricom. And I am so pleased, and thank you, Linda, so much for agreeing to and organizing for us to be here. So I'm really, really grateful, and this is going to be a great conversation for us.
Thank you, Njeri.
So let's start off. Wangechi, why law? How did you get into the profession? Why did you decide to become a lawyer?
I actually did not decide to become a lawyer. My first choice was to become a dentist.
Really?
Yes, I wanted to be a dentist. And then my mom discouraged me. She said, are you going to be able to, look into people's mouths, all that blood, etc. So I said, okay, fine. When I actually finished my Form 4, I was called for biochem.
Yeah.
Those days, within the first 3 months of being placed, there was a window where you could actually transfer to another course if you actually qualified for it. And I qualified for law, and that's how I landed there.
I mean,
I never chose it from Form 1 and said, this is me. No.
I mean, that's very funny because actually Sammy also, I think he was chosen to go to pharmacy first and then now he's a lawyer, but it happens. Linda, you?
So for me, I'd actually wanted to be an architect. When I finished high school, I even interned in one of the top architectural firms called Triad Architects.
Yeah, it's a very well-known one, yeah.
But then when I applied to the university, I was called to do law.
Okay.
And so, as they say, the rest is history.
Okay. And so why Safaricom? How did you get to Safaricom, both of you? Let's start with Wangechi.
My journey to Safaricom has been a long one. It's just recent. I'm here 7.5 months.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But this is not my first tango in the telecommunications industry. Before that, I was at Telcom Kenya for 9 years. And before that, I was at Airtel Networks for 4 years. So it's been a path of telecommunications, and I can say that it's been exciting. Now, why Safaricom? Why not Safaricom?
I mean, why not? Yeah.
Yes, it's always good. I think everybody gets a sense of pride being related to or working at or connected to somebody who's doing well or an organization that's doing well. And this is Safaricom. I mean, why?
I mean, it's a business to be very proud of as Kenyans.
Exactly.
Linda, you?
So for me, it's a different journey. I started legal practice in 2002. I did my apprenticeship.
I was saying that Linda doesn't look like she started practice in 2002.
I did. And so I applied to Hamilton, Harrison and Matthews, and I was interviewed. And so I did my apprenticeship for 2 years.
Yeah.
Then I was privileged to be attached to the late Ken Fraser. So I started my practice in litigation, and I worked in the lower courts, high court, and even the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
And I was even published
Really?
as in one of the leading bank litigation.
Wow.
So what happened?
You need to tell us the case, and we need to put it down there.
Actually, it was on the 10th of August 2018. It was published in the Daily Standard. So how I transitioned to commercial is that one of my colleagues got a job at African Development Bank.
Yeah.
And so I applied to get into the commercial department.
Oh, within HHM now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in those days, it was very territorial. Once you're a litigant, you never transition to another department. So I was one of the first to move to commercial. And I was also attached to one of the legal icons in the commercial industry. I worked under Parasha.
A titan of the industry. But why did you want to transition from commercial to litigation? Is it just to try something different, or?
I just felt I wanted to do more in-house work. In-house practice.
Yeah.
Because litigation was very heavy in those days. You had a lot of briefs running up and down in the court corridors, and your judgments are never finalized.
Yeah.
So I wanted a more settled life. At that time, I was also getting married.
Yeah.
So I transitioned into commercial practice. And then I also studied for my master's in business administration. So I wanted a job. I was actually looking for a job that would combine my legal skills and my business knowledge.
Yeah.
So when Safaricom were recruiting for a legal counsel, I applied. And that's how I got into Safaricom, and I've worked there now 9 years.
Amazing. And then you have literally the history of the place because you've been there so long. When you look back and you look at what skills you had, like as a child, as a teenager, what specific skill do you think you had or possessed that made you an apt person to study law or to be a lawyer that you are today? Wangechi?
I'm a middle child.
So am I.
We're 5.
Yeah.
So I am the one who perhaps even today, I am connected to the first 2 and the last 2.
Yeah.
So I can easily sort of like flow in between everybody. And this is one of the skills that you need to have. You need to be personable. You need to be able to have a conversation with somebody. It doesn't matter where they are. And you're also, at that point of being in the middle, you sort of have a hakietu type of personality where you want, you want rights, you want fairness, you want to be heard, which is important to have as a lawyer. But I think the most important is that if you're able to connect with people, then your job becomes easy, because as a lawyer, your work is to speak for or act for the ones who are not going to be there. So I think that's one of the qualities that perhaps helped me. But like I said, I did not have law as a first choice. Even when I think about it, when I connect it to being a dentist, I would still have had to use those skills to, make my clients, patients, at ease, etc. I think that's
I think we're in the services industry and here to serve people. So I think there's an element of being relatable and personable and working with people.
Correct.
Linda?
So for me, I'm a firstborn child, and growing up, I was always the one left with responsibility, looking after other children in the home. When my parents traveled, they'd always leave me with the money for the home. So I tended to learn how to be responsible very early. Yeah. And that to be translated as to how a lawyer acts in a fiduciary capacity to their client. Yeah. So for me, the elements...
fiduciary.
So for me, the elements of being trustworthy and reliable is what has made me the lawyer I am today. Yeah.
I mean, those are all good things. Let's talk about the difference between deciding to work in practice and deciding to work in-house. What was that for you? What decision led that for you?
I started off at Ransley, McVicar and Shaw and had the great opportunity to work under the late Philip Ransley, Justice Philip Ransley. And I liked practice. It was every day was something new.
Yeah.
And when I was in practice, I found that I was able to exercise a bit of independence in that I could speak to the clients. I could give the clients an opportunity to hear me out and I give them an idea. Then I transitioned to practicing within government. I was a state law counsel in the Treaties and Agreements Department. Again,
I mean, how did you even get to the Treaties and Agreements Department?
It has always been the most prestigious. Now it is called government transactions, but still seems to be the
because
most
it's very high level, right?
Yes. And at that point, again, now we are not dealing with individual clients. We are now dealing state to state.
Yeah.
And you get to see a lot of these transactions. When you hear that we have acceded to a certain treaty, that we are party to this, we are party to that, this big government transactions that we see nowadays, that's what we used to do then, albeit at a smaller scale.
Yeah.
And when I was there, we had I think it was the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health actually had a program of wanting to bring health services to the mobile phone.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was about 2009. Yes, that was 2009.
Yeah.
So what happened is that the operators, as they were then, were called to a round table. And at that time, there were 4. Now we are 3.
Yeah, yeah.
Those who still remember ESSA.
It was Telcom, ESSA.
Telcom, ESSA,
Orange.
Airtel.
Well, I guess those
yes, Telcom was Orange and then Safaricom.
Yeah.
And so the Attorney General is there as a lawyer of the government, and in this particular case, the Ministry of Health. And we started having those conversations, etc. When I was there, Airtel had an opportunity, senior regulatory officer.
Yeah.
And I got the opportunity to interview. And it was I think it was the best interview I have gone for in my life, because it was one that I did not know much about regulatory.
Yeah.
But I went in there confident and saying, you know what, this is a good thing. I was their customer then.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, let me give it a try. And so I did not think much in terms of, do I know what regulatory is? Do I know what the Kika Act is saying? Do I know what MOICT is saying or doing at this particular time? I just went in. And when I went in, I found a different world where I can use my skills on the regulatory and public policy side. And the rest is history.
I mean, I guess it's a tale of when opportunity meets preparation.
Correct.
And then you are just at the
forefront.
Yeah.
How you respond is what is most important, because that is where you're going to get your next maybe big gig or your next calling where you totally fit.
Yeah. And also it's a good lesson for people who are working across the table from someone else, that the opportunity is not just where you are, but can be where you are not.
Yeah, Njeri, you might be my next opportunity.
You're welcome, Wangechi. We need your skills more than you know. Linda, what about you? The decision, I know you've already said that you wanted a slower pace. You wanted something that was more determined in terms of outcomes, etc., and you moved to commercial. What about the transition from in-house from practice to in-house?
So from practice to in-house, I wanted to work in a company where I combine my legal skills and business knowledge.
Yeah.
And coming into Safaricom, because it's a listed company, it's a commercial company, it makes revenue. I felt that I could be a good fit.
Yeah. Did you anticipate that you would be there so long? Did you anticipate this long legal career there? What did you think? Was it like a blip?
No, I actually did not anticipate that I would stay in Safaricom this long. I actually thought I would probably even become a judge.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually applied, but I didn't get into the
But not yet.
It's not yet. It would be a career opportunity in the future. Who knows? Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then could you tell us, like, for anyone who's thinking of coming in-house, what specific skill do you think you need in order to be effective in-house? Because it's a different set of skills, right? The client might not be external. It could be someone internal that you're servicing. Give us tips.
I think one of the things that I learned when I came in-house is that you must learn your business. So your commercial acumen must just move from 0 to 100, because that is the only way you'll be able to serve your client properly. So you must know what exactly is my, like for instance at Safaricom or telecommunications, you must learn the business itself.
Yeah.
What are the pain points? What are the opportunities? Where are we trying to go? What are the challenges? What are the roadblocks that you need to clear? Because you will not be able to give them proper advice if you do not understand the business. And you need to also be very versatile, because you're not only serving one client. So today you could have somebody from the finance team coming and saying, this is what we want to do. We want to get some funding. You've got to understand that. Tomorrow it could be somebody from marketing and brand and saying that this is what we want to do. So you've got to learn that. Your ability to learn your business is going to be your greatest advantage.
But somewhere like Safaricom, it seems overwhelming, because if you're looking at something like funding, you have to understand grants and how they apply and how to apply for a grant, all of those things. And if you're looking at HR, it's a different set of skills. What is the role, how do you break down the role on a day-to-day basis?
One of the things that you need to know is that you should never be afraid to ask. If, for instance, you have not interacted with a certain kind of assignment, first step back and ask, the team that you're working with, how does this work? When you say this, what does this mean? And especially in telcos, we have a lot of acronyms. What does this mean? You must learn. The moment you learn and you get it right, you then have the ability to advise. Now, you also have to have the capacity to, like you've just said, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So there'll be somebody from HR, there'll be somebody from tech, there'll be somebody from IT. You just have to have the capacity. But the desire to do well and the desire to believe, the ability to believe in your ability.
I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point, because a lot of people lose confidence in their own ability and get overwhelmed. But we'll come back to that, because I want to know what your tactic is for that. But Linda, I also wanted to come to you on the company secretarial side, because you were recently appointed, but you're acting at the moment as a company secretary. And a lot of people don't know what a company secretary does. What does that entail?
So as a company secretary, you guide the board on governance of the company.
Okay.
And that means you manage relationships between the board and management. And then you're the liaison between the board and the shareholders in terms of communication. So you act in a trusted position, and you manage relationships.
That's a great, an overwhelming skill to have at Safaricom, and we wish you all the best with that. I wanted to come back to you on the skill set for asking questions and believing in yourself. Where do you pull from for that?
I want to go back to my
first assignment. You have to answer the same question.
I want to go back to my first assignment when I was at Airtel. And my first assignment was in our business, generally, we pay a lot in terms of the resources that we get. And these are frequency, very expensive, scarce resources. And it makes, it's one of the largest costs that we have as a telco. So I was told that you need to come up with a paper that we will then put forward to convince the regulator to reduce the cost of spectrum. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what spectrum was. And my boss could actually see it in my face because I was looking at her and I was like, what?
So I'm assuming, I don't also know, but spectrum is the range, right?
Yes, spectrum, yes. It's a frequency that we're able to deploy out there so that our customers can enjoy certain products and services. And so she said, so what you will do is that you will go and sit with the technology team. And I went and I sat with the CTIO. And he broke it down and he said, before I tell you what spectrum does, I need to teach you how a call is made. Mm-hmm. And he taught me and he told me what a TRX is. Those are links. He told me what spectrum is, the bands, etc. I went back and I became very interested. So I would always go back to technology and we'd do the paper. The outcome is that actually in 2012, we got a 20% reduction of the spectrum cost. And this was an industry initiative, but from Airtel, I did write that paper. So the ability to just say, I do not know, I want to learn, teach me, and then after that, I'll take it from there. You must have that skill.
And every time you do an assignment and have a success, it builds your confidence and ability to
knowledge base. Mm-hmm. And your knowledge base.
Yes, amazing. And you have to keep learning.
Yeah.
So tell us, Linda, what about you? Where do you pull from for that strength and ability to be confident in your ability to serve, for example, the board and the shareholders as company secretary?
I think apart from learning agility, I think you really have to have some form of emotional intelligence and soft skills, as well as a high self-awareness. Because within the telco space, you deal with a wide range of people, from internal customers to external customers to the board to management. So you should be able to have very high IQ.
Yeah.
Then apart from that, you need to be able to communicate effectively in a manner that people can understand.
Yeah. Okay. And then in terms of there are courses to become a company secretary. Yeah. And just tell me about how long it took for you to become a company secretary and what does it require? Because a lot of people are advocates like us, but not necessarily a company secretary. Is that something that is worth pursuing?
Yes, I would say having your skill set, having company secretary as a skill set is what gives you an added advantage.
Yeah.
It's an academic course, so you have to sit papers for possibly 2 to 3 years, and then you...
Gosh, it's 2 to 3 years.
Or 2, if you have
exemptions.
1.5 years.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So if you have exemptions, And then you have to sit an exam with the registration board, and then they'll certify you.
Yeah.
So in my case, I had already done this, so I became a registered certified secretary in 2012. I think currently you have to practice under a practicing certified secretary for 2 years to do your articles, and then that's when you can be confirmed to practice within the industry.
So it's like adjacent to legal. So it's like another qualification. Wow. Okay. Well done for doing
I think. In addition to that, what I would...
So are you also...
Yes, I am.
It's not the only one. Not qualified.
I would broaden the scope and say, look, I find that the law degree is the base. What comes out of it is up to you. So CS is one of them. CPA is another one.
Yeah.
HR is another one. Because the law degree is so versatile, it can be combined with any other.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So look at where you're passionate. Look at where you want to go. Linda said that she wanted to become an architect. She can still become an architect because there are a lot of building laws and regulations, which now she can speak into. So look at your law degree as the base, as the foundation, as the first step of where you want to go, and then combine it to something else to give yourself that edge, especially if you want to be in corporate.
Completely agree. It's just that you have to have that dedication and focus in order for you to get there.
CPS, as we called it then, was not easy.
Yeah.
People would fail, but ultimately.
Yeah. So you guys are at the top of your profession. You are killing it. You're at Safaricom. I think a lot of women would be very envious of you. What does the day-to-day 9 to 5 look like? If it's 9 to 5 or 9 to 10 or whatever, what does it look like?
My day starts off at home, obviously, with my kids. Having a quick conversation with them in the morning, making sure homework is done, diaries are signed, and then, off to school. But at the office, it is more of ensuring that the legal department is functioning properly. We are only one out of 4 departments that form corporate affairs.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of collaboration we have with our other colleagues. So for instance, I would take care of certain transactions myself, but then I have a team, and that team is to empower the team to ensure that they're delivering in their various areas, whether they are supporting, that you are able to show up as the legal team. How we show up in the business is also important. And this we did quite recently. We had the Legal Awareness Week.
Yeah.
And we mirrored it inside Safaricom. And what that did was, first, the lawyers were known as a person to the team, because we did it in various offices, and people would be like, oh, so you're the one. And we showcased our skills not only as tech lawyers or lawyers in Safaricom, but we were able to advise people on matters personal law. So growing your capacity and putting you out there. Also, it's ensuring that the team, as we move on, people grow in their careers.
Yeah.
So also that occupies me. What else can somebody do? How else can I grow you? How else can I showcase you? How else can I bring you to the fore? So it's really, for me, I don't look at the legal department as a defense team.
Yeah.
I look at us as part of the business and people who work and we collaborate with everybody else. Yes, we'll play defense once in a while, but that's not what we always do.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
so in the evening, come back, and in between.
So is it 9 to 5?
Yes.
Can you manage that?
Yes,
Yeah.
9 to 5 and even extension. And in between, you're still taking the phone calls. You have come back from school. Who's doing this? Who's doing that?
Yeah.
So you just have to make it work. But if you look at it just as a job, then you'll either be overwhelmed and you'll not be able to give beyond the 5.
I completely agree. I never say 9 is 9 to 5. There's no work-life balance. You're just managing around your lifestyle. Linda?
So I'm currently in a new role. So my 9 to 5 looks at serving the board, being present in their meetings, being able to record the deliberations that are made, being able to relay information from the board into management. But in my previous role, I was a transactional TMT lawyer.
Yeah.
So that involved very high CapEx contracts, negotiating for the business,
Yeah.
to bring in network equipment and stuff like that. So that's how my 9 to 5 looks like. I tend to transition into my home life when I leave the office, and I have a totally different role as a mother to my children.
Yeah. And do you shut off? Do you manage to shut off doing that?
Sometimes not, because I probably would spend time with them until they sleep, and then I reopen my laptop.
Gosh.
But it's not every day.
Yeah.
But it's an act of a working mother. It is.
Yes.
It is. I wanted to also talk about the external other roles that you've played. So, for example, setting up the Lean-In Circle for Women in Safaricom, and also the Lawyers in Technology. Those are extra things that you were doing. Why was it important for you to set up those 2 organizations?
I founded the Lawyers in Technology Lean-In Circle in 2017 because I discovered that there was no professional support group for women lawyers in the technology, media, and telecoms space.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's how I got to know Wangechi, because she was one of the people I approached to join the circle.
Yeah.
And for me, it was really about creating a platform where we would allow women to grow in their careers in the TMT space and even occupy the C-suite position.
Yeah.
And that organization or that platform has really been successful, because when I look at the membership, I see people who've grown from associates to general counsel. Some of them are like renowned. We even have a member who was recently recognized by Time 100.
Wow.
She is the lawyer who has been litigating against Meta.
Okay.
So,
the case.
yeah, Mercy.
Okay, yeah.
So for me, it was really creating a platform where women in the TMT space could support each other.
I mean, amazing. Does it have its own like website and stuff so that we can now connect people?
No.
Also,
It's closed group.
close to it. So even I'm not in there. I need to. Can I connect
But
so I can
you know,
join?
when we started, there was so overwhelming requests for membership, and we had to see how do we become efficient and effective and meet the outcomes and the mission that we wanted for the group. But hopefully we would be able to expand in other areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm still going to bug you so that I can join. And let's talk about Safaricom itself as an organization, welcoming young people into the business, welcoming, seasoned and career practitioners, and the way that work has evolved after COVID. Are you guys working from home? How are you making it work in a post-COVID era in the business?
In the short time that I've been there, I find that it's not any different from my previous engagements. Indeed, we do have the hybrid system.
You have a hybrid?
Yeah, we have the hybrid system. So that I think it's 2 days. But that is not to say that in case you'd have something that you need to do in the office that you will not come. So it's really up to people's discretion and discernment, how you're going to make it work. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important because it also lets you connect with other aspects of your life. And I think it's actually a successful way of doing it. And it prepares us for future. I mean, nobody knew COVID was coming, and then it came, and then it caught us, all of us, off guard. Now that we have adapted, perhaps maybe it is in readiness for the next thing, and touch wood that it doesn't happen. So I think it's also, and being a tech company, we should be able to work from anywhere, deliver the results. And there's always the need, I still say, even then, we still have the need for the human touch.
Yeah.
So it's good to sit here and talk to you and be with Linda. So it's really just a mix of the two, which works.
The other interesting thing is that you guys were really at the center of making things work during COVID, right? We wouldn't have had, phones, Wi-Fi, etc. without you guys. So you guys have been really instrumental. How do you make sure that you continue that legacy going forward? And also, how do you make sure, Linda, that you can connect the pre-COVID world to this world now for your business?
I think for Safaricom, what COVID inspired was digitization. Yeah. So we really got to digitize a lot of our processes during COVID, and that really improved efficiencies in the way we serve the customer, in the way we work within the business. And so for me, I think digitization was heightened during COVID, and that has what has enabled us to continue to serve even the whole country.
Yeah. And expand beyond. Yes. Let's talk about that a bit. You've gone into Ethiopia. I mean, you're really an African business. How do we make sure that you're taking advantage of legal and regulatory changes, or what do you want to see coming in that could affect the business and lead us into the future?
I think from an Ethiopia perspective, one of the things that we are proud of is first even just getting into the market.
Yeah.
Because for a long time, Ethiopia has been closed. So, and the fact that it's an African brand that has gone in is a plus.
Yeah.
It then shows that as Africans, we have something to offer just as good and can compete.
As international.
Yes, as international brands. Mm-hmm. We recently launched M-Pesa in Ethiopia.
Yeah.
And it's catching on. It's also something else that we are proud of. So we are exporting our own talent, we're exporting our own ideas as Kenyans, and letting the team on Ethiopia put in their own nuances, put in their own flavor, and let the brand work for them. So it's very, I think it's something to be extremely proud of that we have been able to do, and see, it is our desire that even Ethiopia will be bigger and better than we ever thought it would be. So it's something that we're watching closely. A lot of collaboration, Linda can speak into that, in terms of, say, even what the legal department at Safaricom has been able to do for our counterparts in Ethiopia. But really proud about that, and letting them do, customize it to the Ethiopian
way, because we have to recognize that each country is individual.
Correct.
So, Linda, let's talk about the regulatory changes that you want to see coming forward. What are you looking forward in order to implement your strategies going forward?
So there are two aspects. If we talk about Ethiopia, it would be good to see them legislate more in terms of what we have best practice in Kenya, borrowing from things like data protection, and even what we have regionally. Over and above that, from a local perspective, it would be good to see new regulations in new areas like artificial intelligence, revolution of intellectual property laws, because technology is continuing to penetrate into the continent in various ways. And so to be able to have new laws that catch up with the trends would be really, really good.
I mean, that is very important. AI, intellectual property, those are key regulatory changes that we also need to see coming through.
And when we're talking about AI, I was recently at a conference and I coined this thing, where is the AI in AI? And what that means is, where is Africa's interest in artificial intelligence?
Is this your intellectual property? So
that's my intellectual
property.
I say that is because AI is coming, it is here with us, but it is very important that we look at it from an African perspective and make it work for us as Africans, where we are now and where we are going. So I'm very passionate in insisting of where is the African interest in AI. And I hope that this there will be momentum in that the products and the ways that we're using AI is serving us as Africans to the next level.
I mean, that's key. And we also need to understand what AI, the purpose of it and how it can be used in Africa.
And legislate from an African perspective, which hopefully will compete, if not supersede, what we're seeing out there.
Yeah, correct. This last week, there was an article in the New York Times saying how Africa is the next frontier. The really big cover, I don't know if you guys saw it, talking about specifically Africa, the population growth, the potential that it has. I mean, Africa has always had its potential, but really now it is the most populous and going to be the most populous continent on Earth. We also have changes coming in with, for example, Kenya removing the visa restrictions on other African countries, and then also the African Free Trade Agreement, which can then leverage on what we can do in legal services, how we can deliver legal services. Are you guys thinking about that? And if so, in what capacity?
I think quite briefly I can say that it would be our desire as Safaricom to be the leading African telco. So some of the legislation that is coming in, some of the treaties that are coming in, I think will enable this. And hopefully that we can get into more markets and serve the African continent, not just Kenyans. So that would be my biggest stake and hopefully the biggest opportunity that we can have to become a Pan-African organization that then takes out all this technology, all these services to the African people. Something to be truly proud about.
And that would be the goal for all of us. But also, Linda, just to tailor your services in terms of best practice to countries that have not had the opportunity to learn about that kind of thing before. So how are you the best company secretary at the highest level that you can be in, for example, Guinea, where they may not, have the same regulation? How do you do that and influence them?
Okay, so the company secretarial role is coming in-house for the first time. So part of the mandate is also just to ensure that we develop best practice, just the way Safaricom is known for some of the agendas like sustainability. So how do we transition corporate secretary services I mean, that's amazing. I didn't know it was the first time. So this is the first time they hired someone in-house. Okay. So how do we make it best practice so that we become trendsetters in that space, in the telco space, as a listed company, observing best practice corporate governance? So I want to say that really is how we hope to see in the office of the COSEC.
I mean, that's great. That's great. And if we can bring it into other countries, all the better. And we do the same thing with legal services. We try and develop and see what kind of practice they are in different African jurisdictions, and then adapt them for our clients who are across the continent as well. Okay, we're coming to the end of the year. It's been a good year. Has it been a good year?
Yes, it has.
It's been a very good year. I don't think we can complain. What are you looking forward to in 2024? What things can you tell us about? Can you tell us anything? Is it all hush-hush?
You can break it down personally, professionally.
Professionally, in Safaricom.
What we're looking forward to in 2024 is, just doing bigger and better business, as Linda says, that we truly become the market leaders in terms of our governance, in terms of how we do our business, in terms of the type of business that we do. I would hope that in 2024, we get to stretch ourselves more as the legal team in terms of the transactions that we'll be able to do, the things that we will encounter in our jobs, but really just to ensure that there is growth amongst all of us, that there is satisfaction. People continue to feel satisfied in the jobs that they're doing and that enables them to even give more.
Yeah.
And number 3 is to learn one more skill. We have something we call in Safaricom that is one more skill, that we bring it more. Lawyers, we are so busy serving our clients, etc. I would like to see that thematic area of one more skill actually come out more amongst ourselves, including myself.
Yeah.
That we are able to move away from just being lawyers and get another skill, because this is how the world is moving. If you do not adapt, if you do not get another skill on it, you may very well perish or become, obsolete. like say in telcos, the equipment is obsolete. So just to ensure that we are on top of our game, that we are supporting the business, that the business is able to feed off our knowledge, to feed off our expertise to just move on to.
I mean, that's a great one for anyone who's looking for to think about 2024. One more skill could be something that you can look for now.
Whatever it is, get that one more skill.
Yeah. Linda?
So in addition to what Wangechi has said, we are hoping for a strong set of financial performance and giving value to our investors in terms of hoping to see our share price increase. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I mean, the thing is that you're serving different masters, right? There's investors to serve, there's in-house to serve, there's clients to serve. My gosh, it's a lot, but I can understand where both your perspectives are coming from. Okay, so as we wrap up on that, let's talk about your personal philosophy in life and what has taught you and enabled you to then bring into your work and into your life. I'm looking for something unique.
I want to leave a place better than I found it.
Yeah.
So for me, I always ask myself, how can I make a difference?
Okay, but that's a great one.
Embrace the future. And the future, that does not mean that everything will be rosy. Even where there are challenges, embrace those challenges, because out of challenges, opportunities arise. So embrace the future and take it as it comes, one day at a time, because, so many things happen, but do not be afraid of the future. Actually, go towards it and pick it up and move on.
Excellent. Those are very good things. So there are 2 more segments that I want us to cover. First of all, we do tips and tricks for working well. I know you guys different approaches so that people can get a flavor, and then we do a quick fire round. So let's do that first. Okay, so tips and tricks, This is for young lawyers. What advice would you give anyone looking to get into legal practice? So the first decision about getting into legal practice, because actually both of you were not going to be lawyers anyway. So
I think for me, if you want to get into legal practice, be teachable, open your mind to learn as much as you can. Especially when you're a young lawyer, be open to learning as much as you can so that you really improve your skill set. Law is a profession that upholds the rule of law, so be ready to be a person of value and integrity.
I mean, that's very important. When you say teachable, and I'm going to press you on this, Linda, when you say teachable and to learn, what are you learning? Because actually there's the technical skills and then there's the soft skills. Well, as a young lawyer, do you think that you should focus more on the soft skills or the technical?
I think both, because both are important. And you need to look for a mentor who has walked the path that you intend to walk, and be teachable. Allow them to mentor you so that you bring out your greatness.
Okay. All right. Wangechi?
Be patient. The legal profession is one of learning, as Linda says, but it takes time. So you must be patient. I know in the era of instant gratification, there is a rush to, I want to be like so and so now. Patience, because with patience, you're able to learn, you're able to build your confidence, you're able to build your brand. Be patient.
Okay. Let's talk about work-life balance. I think we touched on it before. Is there such a thing, and how do you cope with that?
I was recently told by somebody that they look at it from a different perspective. They don't say work-life balance. They simply say, are you happy at home and are you happy at work? What that will be is up to you. Whether it is 60, 40, 70, 30. So you must come to a point where you're able to do what you need to do at work and you're still able to do what you need to do at home.
At home. Okay. Linda?
So for me, I look at it like more of work-life integration. When you're at work, be present, do your work, do it professionally, be reliable, and someone people can trust. When you're at home, transition into your home role, whatever it is for you, whether you're a parent, whether you're a wife, you're a sister, whatever it means to you, I think in whatever setting, you need to be present.
Be present, yeah. And when you have a lot on your plate and things that look overwhelming, how do you center yourself? How do you do lists? Is it to check off? What do you do?
Yeah, I definitely have a to-do list every morning. And so I put it on a fresh page. And I don't write, and I don't write on that page. I write on the next one because I may start with only 4, but by the end of the day, the list has grown, so I need that space. But when it's all too overwhelming or there's something like that, I actually leave my desk and I go and I walk.
Okay.
Because I find that walking helps me to just clear my mind.
Okay. Linda?
For me, I just take a break from the work setting. Maybe it's to have lunch or just to reflect. So that's how I center myself.
Yeah. I mean, those are very good methods anyway. Walking as well. We do the quick fire. Okay. I hope you didn't read them before.
No. Try not to.
I am sure you read. But anyway, let's go for it. Okay, so the quick fire round. Let's start with you, Wangechi. Beach or city holiday?
Beach.
Favorite place to visit?
Monaco.
Oh, that's very fancy. Apple or orange?
Orange.
Pizza topping of choice?
Anything meaty.
Okay, favorite drink?
A nice glass of red wine.
Very nice. What type of red wine?
I like it's either South African brand or a Chilean wine.
Okay, very specific. Linda, let's do you. Beach or city holiday?
Beach.
Favorite place to visit?
Paris.
Me too. Apple or orange?
Apple.
Pizza topping of choice?
Chicken.
What is your favorite drink?
Cappuccino.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies. You guys have been fantastic.
Thank you so
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time. It's been a great episode. And see you guys next month.
Bye.